You little tech freak, you ruined a $50 million operation for a girl you met 2 days ago. Okay, let's jump right into this explainer by kicking things off with this absolutely explosive threat from Victor. Instantly, we're thrown into this massive life or death scenario, right? This single line completely establishes the stakes of our story today. We aren't just dealing with some simple misunderstanding here. We're talking about a $50 million criminal operation that gets completely derailed by our protagonist, Syed. And the kicker, he does it all for someone he barely even knows. It's the perfect hook, honestly, because it immediately makes us wonder what kind of characters would willingly walk into this level of danger. And, more importantly, how on earth are they going to survive it?
So welcome to today's explainer, Echoes on the Wire, a character-driven climax breakdown. Today, we're going to dissect exactly how deeply ingrained character traits naturally fuel this kind of high-stakes action and survival. Let's get into it.
First up, let's look at Sia's visual profile. Her whole design, the soft eyes, that warm mustard yellow cardigan, and of course her ever-present journal, really sets her up as this beautifully grounded, creative force. She's a 23-year-old writer who absolutely loves loose-leaf tea and is constantly on the hunt for unique stories. She's completely defined by her empathy and her dedication to observation. Now, in a high-octane thriller, these aren't exactly the traits you'd typically associate with a combatant, right? But as we're about to see, this deep well of empathy and her really sharp, observant nature actually become her absolute greatest assets when the physical danger starts to escalate. Contrasting her perfectly, we have our other hero, Syed. He's also 23, but he's a tech genius with a lean build, messy dark hair, and honestly, an array of highly determined facial expressions. Whether he's looking intensely focused, angry, or even a little playful, there's just this sharp, analytical energy radiating from him. Clad in his signature tech hoodie and totally relying on his custom gear, Syed operates strictly on logic, code, and machinery. He is literally the ultimate problem solver. So when you put him right next to Sia, you get this incredibly compelling dynamic. We've got a pure duo of contrasts here. On one side, Sia relies on human connection, emotion, and sheer creativity. On the other side, Syed tackles the entire world through the lens of cold, hard data and technical precision. But the real magic of this narrative is what happens when this specific dynamic, emotion meeting cold logic, is suddenly thrust into a dark, incredibly violent scenario under immense pressure. Remember, neither of these two is a trained soldier or some kind of superhero. They only have their unique, everyday skills to rely on. And as we move into the climax, we're going to see how these very specific traits dictate their absolutely wild fight for survival. So, Act 1. I want you to really picture the visceral, sensory scene we are dropped into here. The setting is the Riverside workshop, late at night. Heavy rain is just pouring through a completely shattered skylight, soaking literally everything in sight. It's cold, it's dark, and the environment itself feels incredibly hostile. Right up on these narrow, slick, wet wooden rafters, suspended far above the ground, Syed is locked in this desperate struggle against the much heavier, much more dangerous Victor. Victor is just grinding his teeth, using all his physical weight to force the barrel of a silenced pistol right toward them. It's a claustrophobic, terrifying environment that demands immediate action. Now, the crucial thing to note is how this rapid timeline maps out the chaotic, shifting momentum of the fight. Just look at how incredibly fast this all goes down. At 0 seconds, it's a total deadlock. But at exactly 3 seconds, Syed's laptop suddenly chimes in out of nowhere, announcing that the Federal Crime Branch automatic dispatch is confirmed and they're 4 minutes away. That split-second distraction, it's all Syed needs. At 5 seconds, he leverages his core strength for a brutal knee strike, sending that silenced gun plummeting 20 feet into the darkness below. But Victor is relentless, and at the 10-second mark, he violently shoves Syed entirely off the rafter. And then boom, at 15 seconds, Syed is already swinging into action. Think about that. In just 15 seconds, the entire landscape of this battle has completely inverted. It proves just how terrifyingly fast a physical fight actually escalates. And this brilliantly illustrates a thematic contrast that I just love. Remember Sia's character profile, the soft-spoken writer with her little journal and pen? While as Syed plummets into the shattering wooden crates down below, Sia doesn't freeze up. Not at all. She abandons her pen, leaps from the loft stairs, and grabs the heaviest, most analog weapon she can possibly find, a massive iron wrench. She swings it with everything she has, striking Victor right across the shoulder. It is a bold, desperate, and deeply empathetic move. She is literally risking her own life to defend a guy she met just 2 days ago, proving that her empathy is actually a source of incredible, fearless strength. But her strike, as brave as it is, really only enrages Victor. He just shakes off the blow, turns around, and violently grabs Sia by her coat collar, shoving her brutally against a cold steel pillar. He draws a tactical blade, raising it right in front of our face. But here's the thing. Even while she's gasping for air, pinned, and entirely outmatched physically, Sia absolutely refuses to back down. She gasps, "My father will see you behind bars, Victor." She stares right into the eyes of a ruthless criminal and firmly holds her ground. It's this stunning moment of psychological defiance that buys them the absolute most precious resource in any fight: time.
Meanwhile, down below, Act 3 kicks in. Paint this picture in your mind. Syed is lying in a pile of completely shattered wooden crates. His shoulder is badly injured, just radiating pain, and his vision is starting to blur. But through all the debris, he looks up and locks eyes with Sia right as she's pinned against that steel pillar. Seeing her fearless defiance despite literally having a blade in her face triggers something profound in him. A cold surge of adrenaline completely overwrites his physical pain. He finds this massive reserve of sheer willpower, and it's not born out of combat training, it's born entirely out of a desperate need to protect her.
Which brings us to the absolute most brilliant tactical moment of this whole explainer. Syed knows he can't fight Victor hand-to-hand right now, so what does he do? He uses his greatest weapon, his mind and his tech. With a blood-stained thumb, he taps his smartwatch and executes this incredible autonomous rescue override. Step 1, initialize the prototype bike parked outside. Step 2, push the autonomous acceleration to absolute maximum. Step 3, the onboard AI instantly calculates and aligns its sensors directly with the gap in the workshop shutter. And step 4, the execution. A perfectly calculated 50-mile-per-hour impact. It is a breathtaking sequence of cold logic being deployed to solve a highly emotional, life-threatening crisis. Through his raspy, pained voice, Syed screams out, "Sia, down!" She instantly drops to the floor. And then, crash. The matte black prototype bike blasts right through the reinforced metal shutter at 50 miles per hour. It essentially becomes this heavy, high-tech missile, smashing straight into Victor. The sheer kinetic energy launches Victor entirely across the workshop, slamming him headfirst into an electrical panel. We get this massive cinematic shower of high-voltage white sparks exploding in the dark, which instantly knocks Victor unconscious. The bike skids to a halt, its headlights cutting through the smoke and the dust. The bug has officially been neutralized. This cinematic shift between Act 3 and Act 4 is just stunning. We've just survived the workshop, right? Dark, pouring rain, extreme violence, shattered wood, those aggressive high-voltage sparks everywhere. But as the dust finally settles, we enter the dawn. The storm has passed. We get this beautiful golden dawn light cutting right through the mist coming off the river. Instead of total chaos, we have the quiet, measured flashing of red and blue police lights. It's a masterful visual transition from this gritty, high-stakes suspense into a warm, deeply earned peaceful resolution. As we look at the narrative resolution in Act 4, everything ties up perfectly. The federal crime branch arrives right on time and carts off an unconscious Victor. But more importantly, the critical missing evidence is successfully recovered from Victor's encrypted files, meaning Sy's father's name is completely cleared. The whole $50 million threat is entirely gone. And in the midst of all this official police activity, we get this beautifully quiet, intimate payoff. Syed is sitting there on the bumper of an ambulance, and Sia walks over with 2 steaming cups of coffee, wrapping part of her beige coat around him so they can share the warmth. Syed's contented, genuinely happy expression here perfectly captures this earned emotional moment. He takes a sip of his coffee, looks out at the golden sunrise, and delivers that absolutely perfect line. "Told you. Code always fixes the bug in the end." When Sia rests her head on his shoulder, thanking him for saving her family, he just rests his cheek against her soft hair. It's a deeply satisfying merging of their two worlds. The tech genius and the empathetic writer, having just survived the unimaginable, finding comfort in each other as the sun finally comes up. But of course, as we know, a great thriller never fully rests. While Syed is basking in this peaceful morning light, his phone lights up with an urgent message from his team leader. The Federal Tech Division wants to officially fund their prototype bike project. But Syed, he just ignores the message, sliding the phone away to stay completely in the moment with Sia. And that leaves us with a totally thrilling, provocative thought. As Syed said, we're just getting started. So with massive federal funding now literally on the table and their incredible dynamics cemented, what massive, dangerous bug will Syed's code and Sia's fearless empathy have to fix next? I absolutely cannot wait to find out. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for the next chapter.